I'm going to talk about two specific ways that you can avoid ATM fees and minimize the cost of taking your currency from your home country and converting it into the currency of wherever you're staying and then using it. So, if you're planning a trip to Southeast Asia as a family and you hate wasting money, then you need to watch this video. Hi guys, I'm Jimmy from Families on the Horizon, and we're a full-time travel family, and we're all about helping average families like you and I have not so average adventures. If you want to have the absolute best extended vacation of your life with your family that you possibly can, then you need to make sure to hit the subscribe button and get notified when our next video comes out. So let's just get straight into it. So today's video is going to be on one of the biggest mistakes I see other travelers make. Now, we have been traveling for a long time, so we have learned a few tricks and tips about how to get the most out of your money. I see this a lot when we talk to other travelers. They come to a country in Southeast Asia. The first thing they say is how expensive ATMs are here. I think the reason for that is because they are expensive. Firstly, it's $5 plus a transaction at most ATMs in Southeast Asia. But I think it starts at home because they come from a developed country where most people use cards. So they're using their ATM cards at bakeries and all these places that you would expect to do that in a developed country. Go to a bakery, get cash out, get your bagel, pay for it with an ATM card and be on with your day. Now, the big thing with Southeast Asia is that most places don't take cards. So obviously in your malls and your shopping centers and places like that, yes, they take cards, but most places still operate in cash. So you get a bit of a rude shock when you're like, oh, I've loaded my card up and I'm just going to use it for paying for purchases. And then you get over here and they're like, no, sorry, you can't use your card here. So you go to an ATM, take money out, you take out, say, $100 in Australian or US, and it's cost you $5 to take that money out. And now $5 doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're doing 10, 15 transactions in a trip, say for instance, paying for different things and adventures and stuff like that, it can really eat into your budget. And so we've learned a few ways to completely avoid these ATM fees because they are ludicrous, but it is what it is. So I'm going to talk about two specific ways that you can avoid ATM fees and minimize the cost of taking your currency from your home country and converting it into the currency of wherever you're staying and then using it. Because the fact of the matter is, you can't get away with not using cash. Like I said, a lot of these countries are cash-based. You're still going to have to go to an ATM. You're still going to have to get money out. You're going to have cash. And the first way is by using a currency exchange. So for those who don't know what a currency exchange counter is, it's essentially, you'll see them everywhere, even in your home country. They're basically like a counter in a wall, just a small counter. And what they do is they allow you to bring your own currency, say for instance, Australian dollars, either on a card or in cash, and exchange it for another currency. It doesn't have to be the currency of the country you're in either, just a currency. So for instance, you might be in Malaysia and you get here and at the airport, there's a currency conversion counter and you can go there and go, I want 100 Australian dollars in ringgit. You give them your debit card, they punch out the money and give it to you in cash. Now, they don't charge fees for that. So, you're getting charged $5 in ATM fees at an ATM. They don't charge you a fee for using a card, say, for instance. But where they make their money is they basically give you a worse exchange rate than, say, what the actual exchange rate is. So let's say, for instance, 1 Australian dollar is worth 3 ringgit. What they might do is go 1 Australian dollar is worth $2.85 ringgit. So that 15 cent in ringgit, they keep. That's their difference, and that's how they make their money. To be fair, they make a lot of money doing that, but that's their business model, and it works well. And the reason people still use them is because it's still a lot cheaper than getting charged $5 every time you want to use an ATM. And the thing with ATMs too is that a lot of them not only charge you $5, they'll charge you a conversion fee as well. So you're going to pay the conversion fee anyway. So you might as well not pay the ATM fee. Now, one of the downsides of using a currency counter is that they have to have the currency on them at the time. So it's fine if you're getting small amounts, a couple of $100, $500. Most of them will carry that. But let's say you're doing a really big experience and they're only taking, let's say you're going to a theme park and you need $500, say for instance. The currency conversion counter that you go to may not actually have the cash on hand. So you've got to be aware of that. And then you're still in the same boat where you have to go to an ATM to get that money. So Got to be aware of that. Also, depending on the currency conversion counter you use, some of the clip that they take for the currency conversion can be really aggressive. It does pay to shop around with currency conversion if you're going to go to counters. There's always generally 3 or 4 in an airport, and generally they'll have a wall with all of the currencies that they can exchange and the rate. And all you have to do is go on the internet and have a look and see what the current exchange rate is to make sure that you don't get you get a fair price for your money. So that's one thing to do. That's one of the reasons you maybe don't want to use specific currency counters, but overall they're all pretty trustworthy. I would stay away from the ones that look dodgy, but look, you'll see all the time if you go to an airport or just walking around, there's currency where there's tourists, there's generally currency conversion counters, and just go to the ones that are busy. Because generally the ones that are busy, because a lot of Chinese tourists especially, they will use currency conversion counters because they don't have an alternative to the ATM cards, and they don't have an alternative like I'm going to share with you now, which I think is personally a better option. And so this better option is using a card and using a bank that's specifically designed around international currencies. There's a lot of banks that do this. Wise is one of them. We personally use in Australia, I think called Up. And what you're looking for in this bank and this transaction and in an international bank is international transaction friendly. What you're looking for is one that doesn't charge overseas fees. So a lot of these international friendly banks will absorb the ATM fee that you would get charged. And what they do is they do the same thing as a currency exchange, and they give you a slightly worse exchange rate than, say, the market rate. So instead of it being $1 to 3 ringgits, it might be $1 to $2.95 ringgit. Is that they generally also don't charge a currency conversion fee. So you won't get charged a fee for currency conversions, you won't get charged an ATM fee, all you get charged is the change in the currency, which they make plenty from, don't get me wrong, they're making their fair share of money. But the difference between an international travel friendly bank versus a non-international travel friendly bank is obviously the $5 you're going to get charged a transaction, but also your traditional banks like your Big Fours and just like your Bank of Americas and things like that, just your traditional banks, they'll also charge you a fee for converting currency. So they'll not only give you a worse exchange rate, they will charge you a fee for converting that money, and then the ATM itself will also charge you $5. So the way, like I said, these companies make money is the currency exchange rates. They just give you currency exchange rates that aren't as good, but they are generally better rates than you would get at a currency conversion counter because it's all online. So they don't have to pay the overheads of having a counter and staff there. Generally, these international friendly banks are online only banks. So that's why you would use currency conversion counter or just your traditional bank for that reason. You're going to pay a way smaller percentage of a currency conversion rate, no ATM fees, and no currency conversion fees. And this adds up to a lot of money. They aren't hard to sign up for either. So some of the ones that we've used, TransferWise, or what's now called Wise, we see a lot of travelers with those cards, is the one we use personally. That's one in Australia. And they're really easy to sign up for. The thing is, you need to make sure that you sign up for them well before you go on your trip, because you need to get the card to be able to use the ATMs over here. So we found with Up, which is the company that we use, is based in Australia, not financial advice, of course, but they've been very good for us. We found that we got one card quickly, and the second card actually didn't come. We left the run too late, basically. We organized it too late, and the second card didn't come in time. We were only able to pick it up after the fact. The other thing you need to make sure is, I would say, if you organize this a month before your trip, you're going to be safe, because the other thing you need to do is get the card verified, and you need to get the PIN number and all the traditional stuff that a traditional bank card comes with. The other thing these international banks with these kind of ATM fees are good for is making, they know you're traveling internationally. So you don't need to let them know that you're overseas. You don't need to let them know that kind of stuff, but you still have all the protections of a traditional bank. And trust me when I say that this is a very costly mistake to not get this organized before you go, because like I said, you can use currency counters. They're expensive. ATMs are more expensive with traditional banks, but these guys, they take their time. There's a lot of people trying to use them. And you just get a traditional card like a normal bank, and you just put it in the ATM, take cash out like you would in a normal bank, and it's all sorted in the back end. The beauty about these international banks as well is you can track all of this stuff online. You can log into your bank online and see the transactions happen in real time. They're designed for international travelers. So definitely look into an international friendly bank. Like I said, we're using Up, but there's plenty of others out there. And I just want to reiterate that $5 doesn't sound like a lot. And you're probably sitting there going, oh, what? It's a lot of hassle for $5 to set up a new bank account and get a new card. But trust me when I say you will be going to ATMs way more often than you think you will. Little things like you go to a fast food place and you think they would have cash. They would have card facilities, but all of a sudden they don't, and you have to go and get cash. You go to, buy a pair of pants or a pair of shorts, and then the place you go to doesn't have bank cards. It doesn't accept bank cards, so you have to go to an ATM. And unless you're willing to carry around a lot of money at once, which is very risky, by the way, then you're going to be going to the ATM often, $5 at a time, and $5 at a time could lead to hundreds of dollars, and that is not money you're spending on your trip, and it's just wasted money. So, for instance, we're going to an ATM once every 3 days at the moment. And, if we were paying $5 at a time every 3 days, it would just be so ludicrously unaffordable to do this trip, because it doesn't take long till it's $100 and $200 and $500 and $1,000, especially with how long we're traveling for. So guys, do yourself a favor, take the 10 minutes it takes to set up one of these bank accounts, get your card, do it a month before you go. That's plenty of time, but earlier the better, of course, because you do need to prove your identity and do all the traditional bank stuff, but it's all done online, which is really nice. But avoiding ATM fees is a crucial part of planning a successful trip to Southeast Asia. I just want to reiterate that point. Now, to summarize what we're talking about here, ATM fees in Southeast Asia are absolutely ludicrous. You're looking at paying $5 plus per transaction. You're also going to pay a currency conversion fee at your local bank, and you're going to get a worse exchange rate. The second best option is currency conversion counters. Let's say you've left for this trip and you are in a pinch, go to currency conversion counters. They're going to be a lot cheaper than the $5 that you pay per transaction. And the way they make their money is they take your fee, take a clip in the middle, and give you a worse exchange rate than the market rate. The absolute gold standard, best way to do it is to get an international friendly online bank with a bank card and only pay the small clip in currency conversions, which is generally significantly less than currency conversion counters, because they don't have the staff and the counter and the physical location. And make sure to organize this as far ahead in advance as you can, because you still have to deal with regulatory banking, and that can take time. And you don't want to be stressing about how you're going to get money out of a wall while you're trying to plan the rest of your trip. So guys, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you found this helpful, and leave it in the comments if you have some other ways that people can save money on transactions when they're on a trip to Southeast Asia. Leave it in the comments and share it with the rest of the audience here, because we're all a family here. We're all trying to just have the absolute best vacation and best extended vacation and best full-time travel we possibly can. And we are all here to help each other. And if you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe for more full-time travel, extended vacation travel tips and tricks. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and we'll catch you all on the horizon.